so striking about the war and the pandemic and the response to the invasion of Ukraine is all of a sudden we see speed and scale. These things that we were told were impossible, all of a sudden, we're seizing the assets of the oligarchs, we're banning imports, we're working with our allies, we're spending money we didn't think we had. And the perplexing thing is, why is it that we are able to pivot in this way in the face of some emergencies and not others? The premise of my book, it's on mobilizing Canada for the climate emergency, but it's all structured around lessons from the Second World War. Another time we faced an existential emergency threat and mobilized across society, across class, race, and gender, and politics to do what we had to do. One of the things that intrigued me as I dug into the World War II research was, like a lot of people, I assumed, as you just said a moment ago, that it was a different time when we were more united and everyone was ready to rally. And it turns out that's not true. People were not anxious to do this, and we were quite divided. We were divided regionally. We were divided by class. In fact, on those class terms, interestingly, often people had said to me, "Oh, well, we were more cohesive back then." No, we weren't. In fact, if you look at inequality in Canada, measured as the share of income going to the wealthiest 1%, and you look back over the last 100 years, the maximum point of inequality was 1938, the year before the war. We did not go into the war cohesive and united. That social solidarity was forged in the doing. But part of how it was forged was that the King government really understood that if you were actually going to mobilize everybody and get the enlistment numbers that they wanted to get, people had to feel that social solidarity. They truly had to feel like everyone was doing their part. We were all in it together. And so they did things to ensure that. They brought in Canada's first major income transfer programs. Unemployment insurance comes into the war. The family allowance comes into the war. Taxes were increased on the wealthy and corporations during the war. We had an excess profits tax in the war that was structured in a way that the kind of profiteering that we've seen in this pandemic was illegal in the Second World War. It's too bad in the pandemic we didn't learn more lessons from the war around how you sustain that feeling that we are, in fact, all in this together. But the same lesson holds now for climate.
That's it for episode 8. Make sure to tell a friend about the podcast and send them over to the podcast page at northernlatitudes.ca. I'm Bill Alt. Find your way to Northern Latitudes.